I'm Julie Banderas, and you're in the strategy room. President Obama is letting the world know how he feels about a Texas teen who was taken away in handcuffs this week for bringing a homemade clock, which was mistaken for a bomb, to his school. The president even tweeted, "Cool clock, Ahmed. Want to bring it to the White House? We should inspire more kids like you to like science. It's what makes America great." Here with reaction is Ellen Ratner, Bureau Chief of Talk Radio News Service and a Fox News contributor, and Crystal Wright, Principal Owner of Baker Wright Group, LLC. Welcome to you both. Crystal, I'll start with you. First of all, what do you make of the president weighing in on a case like this? I mean, Ahmed Mohammed, he's a 9th grader. He's trying to impress his teachers with a self-made clock. Critics are saying that the reaction by the administration of his school represents the climate of hate and fear around Muslims' reaction. But are you surprised that the president got involved?
No, I'm not surprised the president got involved. This is a president who wants to get involved in Black Lives Matter, stoke racial, animosity between Americans. And he's so consumed with political correctness that he overlooks the fact that, do I think that the kid should have been handcuffed and arrested? No. But from what I understand, it looked like a bomb. It had a circuit board and a clock. And if I was a teacher and the kid brought it up to me, I'd probably be really scared and call security. So I just think this is a classic example of President Obama putting political correctness above what's good for the American people.
Ellen, I have to say, to be fair, though, it is unfair. These are the times we live in, because when I was a kid, if somebody made a clock, we'd all think that was pretty impressive, and I'm sure the teachers would actually be really proud of the kids. So unfortunately, this does bring up the racial relations. I mean, what do you think of the entire case? And then, of course, President Obama getting involved in something that's just such a local issue.
First of all, I'm very glad the president got involved. And secondly, there is unconscious racism in almost every person in this country, whoever they are. And I think this is another example of this. Had this been some white kid from, middle-class family, nobody would have given it a second thought. I think the president was absolutely right. And when the president became president of the United States, he said, you're not going to be able to finish racism on the cheap here just by having me as an African American. And he's absolutely right. It has to be much more fully focused, and I think that's what the president is trying to do with this, and good for him.
The climate of hate and fear around Muslims obviously is very sensitive, and Crystal, you mentioned Black Lives Matter and the president getting involved there. The question is, how involved should the president be getting? Because his involvement in Black Lives Matter hasn't necessarily helped the situation. In fact, some would argue that it has harmed it. I have NYPD sources here, detectives, that in fact were alarmed with a text message and a letter from their sergeants that apparently Black Lives Matter supporters had sent out some sort of underground directive for people to shoot a cop if they were alone on 9/11. So in other words, if you see a cop that doesn't have a partner, because it seems that cops that are alone have become victims in this country, where does it stop?
Well, I know exactly what you're talking about, and I think what you're referring to, there's a black woman, she lives in Texas, she runs a podcast, and about 2 weeks ago, she did a live podcast encouraging other black activists, so-called a part of the Black Lives Matter movement, to go out killing cops. People called in on her show, and I can't remember her name. They called in on her show and they said, let's take them down when they're, alone, exactly what you're talking about. And the reason why this is happening is because President Barack Obama weighed in on the Trayvon Martin case before charges had been brought up against Zimmerman. We know he weighed in on Michael Brown, and the list goes on. And the message the president is sending to America is, if you're black and armed, or unarmed, you're always going to be the victim regardless of what you do, and cops are the bad guys. And I think back to what Ellen was saying about, the president being black and being responsible for healing race relations. I agree with Ellen. Look, he can't be the only one to do it just because he was the first elected black president. But the fact is, back to this clock that looked like a bomb, Muslims are the ones who flew planes into the World Trade Center. Let's not forget this. I'm not saying all Muslims are bad, but they're the ones that are blowing us up.
Okay, Ellen, I want to give you the final word.
The final word is the same rhetoric was used during the Inquisition about Jews. We're hearing the same rhetoric around Muslims. It's just not fair or right.
All right, Ellen, Crystal, thank you both for joining us. And for more on this developing story and much more, you can check out foxnews.com. I'm Julie Banderas. Thanks for watching.